The World Cup. The most anticipated tournament ever. There's just one thing I couldn't get off my mind. Has the World Cup become too big? The World Cup has always been huge, but in 2026, it becomes something completely different. For the first time ever, the tournament will have 48 teams spread across 3 countries, with 104 matches played in 16 host cities across Canada, Mexico, and the United States. FIFA has called it the biggest World Cup ever, and technically, they are right. But bigger does not always mean better. Because behind the excitement, the packed stadiums, the extra countries, and the extra knockout games, there is a question that football fans are starting to ask. Has the World Cup become too big? For years, the World Cup had a format that almost everyone understood. There were 32 teams, 8 groups, 4 teams in each group. The top 2 went through. Then came the round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. It was simple. It was clean. It created drama quickly. A team could not afford a slow start. One bad result could put them in danger. One shock win could change an entire group. That format gave us iconic moments. Underdogs surviving, giants collapsing, and final group games where every goal completely changed the table. But in 2026, that familiar structure is gone. The World Cup is expanding from 32 teams to 48 teams, and that changes almost everything. The 2026 World Cup will be hosted by Canada, Mexico, and the United States. That alone makes it unusual, because this is the first men's World Cup with 3 host countries. Instead of 32 teams, there will be 48. Instead of 64 matches, there will be 104. Instead of 1 host country, or even 2, the tournament will stretch across an entire continent-sized region. The games will be played in cities thousands of miles apart, from Mexico City to Vancouver, from Los Angeles to New York, New Jersey, from Miami to Toronto. And the opening match is scheduled for 11 June 2026, with the final on 19th July 2026. On paper, this sounds incredible. More teams, more matches, more fans, more countries getting the chance to experience the World Cup. But once you look closer, the problems start to appear. The new format is fairly simple once you break it down. The 48 teams are split into 12 groups of 4. Each team plays 3 group stage matches. The top 2 teams from each group qualify automatically. That gives you 24 teams. Then, the 8 best third-place teams also qualify. So instead of going straight from the group stage to a round of 16, the 2026 World Cup introduces a new round of 32. That means more knockout football, more jeopardy, more countries staying alive for longer. But it also means the group stage may feel different. In the old 32-team format, finishing third usually meant you were out. In 2026, finishing third might still be enough. That could make some group stage matches feel slightly less brutal because teams may be able to survive with fewer points. At the same time, it could make the final round of group games more confusing. Fans will not only be watching their own group, but also comparing third-place teams across other groups. Goal difference, goals scored, discipline records, and results from other matches could decide who survives. So the tournament gets bigger, but it also gets harder to follow. So why did FIFA do this? The positive answer is simple. Expansion gives more countries a chance. For smaller football nations, qualifying for a World Cup can transform the sport back home. It gives players global exposure, creates national pride, and gives fans a moment they may never have experienced before. A 48-team tournament means more representation from around the world. More African teams, more Asian teams, more countries from North and Central America, more stories that would not have existed in the old format. And that part is genuinely exciting. The World Cup is supposed to be global, so there is a strong argument that more of the world should actually be involved. But there is another side to it. More teams also means more matches. More matches means more tickets, more broadcast inventory, more sponsorship opportunities, more money, and this is where some fans become skeptical. Because while FIFA presents expansion as a way to grow the game, critics argue that the new format also makes the tournament much more commercially valuable. The Guardian reported that critics see the expansion as partly revenue-driven, with FIFA expecting much larger income from this tournament than previous editions. So the real answer is probably both. It gives more countries a chance, and it makes the tournament much more profitable. The first major problem is travel. A World Cup in North America sounds exciting, but the distances are massive. This is not like hosting a tournament in one small country where teams and fans can move around by train or short flights. In 2026, the tournament stretches across 3 countries and multiple time zones. A fan following their team could potentially travel huge distances between group games. Teams may also have to adjust to different climates, different altitudes, and long journeys between matches. A match in Mexico City is not the same as a match in Vancouver. A game in Miami is not the same as a game in Seattle. A team could go from heat and humidity to a cooler northern city, then back across the continent again. That creates a logistical challenge for players, staff, media, and fans. And it also creates an environmental problem. Reuters reported that the expanded 2026 tournament is projected by Greenly to produce around 7.8 million metric tons of CO2, with most of that linked to travel by fans, teams, and media. That does not mean fans should not be excited, but it does mean the biggest World Cup ever may also become one of the most carbon-intensive. The second problem is player fatigue. Modern footballers already play a ridiculous number of matches: domestic leagues, domestic cups, European competitions, international breaks, pre-season tours, post-season friendlies. By the time a World Cup arrives, many top players have already been through an exhausting club season. Now add a longer international tournament. The teams that reach the final stages of the 2026 World Cup may have to play 8 matches instead of 7 because of the added round of 32. That might not sound like a big difference, but at elite level, one extra knockout game matters. It means more minutes, more travel, more recovery, more injury risk, more pressure on squads. For fans, more games sounds brilliant. For players, it could become another example of football asking for more and more without leaving enough room to recover. The third problem is quality. This is the most controversial argument because nobody wants to say smaller football nations do not deserve to be there. They do. The World Cup should not belong only to the traditional giants, but expanding from 32 to 48 teams naturally changes the level of the tournament. Some fans worry that the group stage could include more one-sided matches, especially when stronger teams face nations with far less tournament experience. That does not mean shocks cannot happen. In fact, underdog stories are one of the best parts of the World Cup. But the concern is whether expansion makes qualification less special and whether the early stage loses some of its intensity. Because when more teams qualify from the groups, survival becomes slightly easier. A team may not need to be brilliant to get through. They may just need to be better than enough of the other third-place teams. That could make the first stage feel less ruthless than before. And the World Cup's magic has always come from the feeling that every moment matters. But here is the important balance. This tournament could still be incredible. More teams means more national stories. A country reaching its first World Cup can be unforgettable. For fans who have waited their whole lives, simply hearing their anthem at the tournament can mean everything. The expanded format could give us new rivalries, new heroes, and new moments that would never have happened under the old system. And with a round of 32, there will be more knockout games than ever before. That means more penalty shootouts, more late winners, more upsets, more chances for chaos. So the 2026 World Cup is not automatically worse because it is bigger. The problem is that FIFA is trying to make the tournament bigger, richer, more global, and more dramatic all at once. And those goals do not always fit neatly together. So the 2026 World Cup will be historic. It will be the biggest edition ever, the first with 48 teams, the first across 3 host countries, the first with 104 matches, and the first with a 32-team knockout stage. For some fans, that means more football, more countries, and more unforgettable moments. For others, it means more travel, more confusion, more commercialization, and more pressure on players. The truth is, we probably will not know whether this new format truly works until the tournament begins. But one thing is already clear.
It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala!
The 2026 World Cup is not just bigger than ever. It might be the moment the World Cup changes forever.